And the thing that I actually take much deeper issue with is the culture on the left in general that essentially tells people to bubble yourself away from anyone who disagrees, which leads to less understanding. I think in order to be a strong party, you need to understand what motivates people to vote for the other side.
The lack of comprehension skills from the talking heads on the left, it needs to be studied because there's only a very small amount of people on that side that are actually able to look at what happened in this 2024 election cycle and go, you guys are psycho, or acknowledge any sort of wrongdoing and maybe trying to talk about recalibration. Let's figure out how to move forward. Let's try and actually understand what the American people want and why they voted the way they did. And the few people that are doing that are like people like Charlamagne and Ana Kasparian, Chank. They're all left-leaning people, if not severely left. They're like, what is wrong? So we're gonna watch a video of them completely dismantling and calling out the left. Super entertaining, something that we've been doing for years, and now they're doing it too. But before we get into that, make sure to subscribe to RTN News because it ensures to YouTube that you're enjoying our videos, and that way they'll continually show up in your feed, and then they'll also push it out to more people. I'm Titus, let's get into this video.
But I don't begrudge you for voting for Kamala Harris, right? That was the right decision for you. And the thing that I actually take much deeper issue with is the culture on the left in general that essentially tells people to bubble yourself away from anyone who disagrees, which leads to less understanding. I think in order to be a strong party, you need to understand what motivates people to vote for the other side.
What cracks me up is that this is literally the complete opposite of how she has behaved in the past. I'm grateful for it, I'm not getting mad, but it's so funny seeing these people go, hey, let's be reasonable. Let's try and come to an understanding on why people may have opposing views, why people differ. Like, we're all complex individuals who are able to think for ourselves and create our own conclusions based on the evidence that is brought forth to us. Like, it's actually like, wow, maybe we should actually accept and acknowledge that. And I'm grateful. I'm happy that she's doing it, but it's just so funny because she was literally a part of the people that were like, no, you guys are wrong, you're bad, you're censored. And she was never as extreme, I believe, as some people, like such as Rachel Maddow or Joy Reid or anything like that, or Joy Behar or anyone on The View. But it's very interesting to see this shift in mentality and change, and Charlamagne and all these people like, oh, maybe, because remember, Trump was a dictator, he was a misogynist, he's everything you could be, the most violent human being, comparable to Hitler. And now it's just like, oh, if people wanted to vote for Trump or Harris, that is the right decision for them, and that's totally okay. And I don't want to show any sort of frustration or animosity towards you for your own personal decision that you thought was going to be better for you and your family. It's such a switch up, and I'm happy for it. But it's also like, this is all we've been trying to say this entire time. Like, you guys have been canceling us, censoring us. Like, we got Twitter working with the FBI and CIA, I believe, based off the Twitter files that just came out a while ago now. It's like, yeah, that's all we were saying. And then you vilified us and the guy that we thought was going to do the best job for us and our country, and for you too. Like, we thought he was going to do best for you, a good job for y'all. And we were thrown through the mud. Treated as like second-class citizens, as villains, as like we were terrorists or something. Like, we were going to do something to harm the country when all we wanted to do was see it thrive. And so, I mean, I'm glad that she's come here. She's changed her opinions and she's shifted to more like into a more understanding approach. But it's like, y'all weren't like that before. But thank you for doing it now. It's good. And you should be allowed to vote for who you want to. I mean, I think that's just the dumbest thing Charlamagne could do is be on all these podcasts with like Andrew Schulz and communicating with all these people that actually know what they're talking about, or at least are like willing to be like cordial and civil in it, and just be like, vote for the person who's completely opposed to that behavior, who is trying to have censorship, who's literally talking in real time, I think during the campaign, about how there needs to be things in place to like stop misinformation, aka any information that's opposing what I want to be propagated. And this is literally, I mean, they're trying to put regulation on social media. Her talking heads and CNN and MSNBC trying to put regulations on social media, aka we don't want anyone who has an opposing view to have a voice, especially someone with like millions of followers like Charlie Kirk or Candace Owens. We can't have them changing people's minds or bringing people to the truth. They must believe our subjective, manipulative truth that's not actually like, it's not good. And so I'm glad for the shift. It's long past overdue.
What are the arguments? What is the other side doing that seems to be appealing to voters? And this like weird willful ignorance, this culture of willful ignorance on the left has led to the demise of the left, and people seem to be unwilling to accept that. I don't think that the majority of American voters on the other side are bad people at all. I want to understand them, and I want us to all respect each other and respect the decisions we make for ourselves in this democratic process. But by opening up dialogue and conversations, I think that it would actually allow the Democratic Party to maybe realize that they've done things in a way that is not appealing to American voters, and they need to recalibrate some of their policies. But again, that would take some humility, that would take some self-awareness. And for some reason, I don't know, the establishment members of the party have really moved away from that.
Yeah, it's actually insane. Like I said, I said something about recalibrating earlier. It's like, you see what happened. You see the blowout Trump, you got 3 to 4 million votes more than her on the pop, from the American people as a whole. He blew her out in the Electoral College. Like, he won every swing state. He's just obliterated. The red wave was strong. And you guys are doubling down on the policies and talking points that made you lose. That was something that did not resonate with the American people. Something that, like, we cared about our grocery prices. You wanted to talk about trans kids. We cared about, the border being secure. You wanted to talk about men being in women's restrooms. Like, we're not the same. And the priorities that they have and that they're trying to push is not something that we want to ascribe to. We want a safer country, a thriving economy. We want to be able to afford a life. And we want a life to be better for our children and our children's children, not talk about the good old days when things were good. Like, we want to make America great again, not talk about the great times. So it's not the same. We want to see a change, and they do not care. They're continuously trying to vilify us even more so. And there was a video, something that came out the other day. Daniel Penny, the guy who protected all these people on the subway, he went to court, all this stuff this is ridiculous. He literally was protecting people. He had a bystander that was black, and I wanted to make it a whole thing about him being racist. A man who was accused, I think the Huffington Post put it out, a man that was accused of killing Jordan Neely is asked to go to a game with J.D. Vance and Trump. A man that was accused and found innocent because all he did was protect the people. He was a former Marine, protect the people on the subway who were actually scared for their lives. Eyewitness testimony saying they were scared because the man was talking about killing. The man was talking about how he didn't care about his reckless and violent nature and behavior. He was a homeless druggie. So it's very unfortunate that he had to lose his life, but he was a problem that needed to be stopped. And the man that stopped him happened to be white. And then the media ran with it. And this is just further evidence of the disingenuous nature of media to try and propagate and push stories that help their narrative but aren't necessarily based in truth. And we're done with it. Americans was like, no, he's innocent. Nobody thought he was anything other than innocent, but we had to get it to the point that it was at. And I think that the cultural shift is changing. People just don't care. I want my life to be good. You can live your life, let me live my life, and don't try and force your life and your beliefs onto my life or my kids. That's another thing that shifted a lot of things, was the kids. You're not gonna sit there and do that to kids. You're not gonna force my kid to believe what you want or what you think is right. They're just done. So yeah, the left they're out of touch. And if they ever want to see any success in the future, they're gonna have to recalibrate, switch some things up, and actually care about America and its people.
It's more of a comment.
That's why they lost.
Go ahead.
That's why they lost, Anna. They lost because they put themselves in a bubble, and they put themselves in such a bubble and such an echo chamber that they don't even know what people outside of that bubble and echo chamber are talking about. I was having this conversation with them. I was saying that, man, and I was saying it publicly too. I said, I feel like a lot of the energy and the enthusiasm that exists for the vice president is largely within the party. It's largely within that bubble. I don't necessarily feel it, when I'm out and about. And now that we got more things to compare it to, I remember saying, this don't feel like President Obama in 2008. This feels more like, Hillary Clinton in 2016. I was saying that. And I even heard Gavin Newsom on his podcast. He said the same thing. He said they were out on their governor's tour. And, it was, him and Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Governor Josh Shapiro, Governor Wes Moore. And he said they were going to all of these curated events, right? So they would pull up to these places that, Democrats had, like barbershops that they had already, scoped it out, had the people that they wanted in there, going to these curated rallies. And he was like, that's still our bubble. So they weren't aware of what was going on outside of the bubble. And not knowing what was going on outside of the bubble is what caused them to lose.
That's so true. And I mean, you also got to, factor in that she paid millions of dollars for all these celebrities to show up and give free concerts, or at least imply that there was going to be a free concert, because we all know Beyonce showed up for 5 minutes and dipped for $10 million. That was crazy work. But hey, get your bag, girl. I know your husband's dealing with some issues right now. So anyways, moving on. He's right. They cared. It's literally like, how are you going to try and run for office to represent the entire country and then only go to your faction, only go in areas where your people are populated? Because you want to look like it's you're good. Trump would go in the most liberal areas and still fill the room with people that wanted to live. And then her Kamala HQ is putting all these lies out, showing videos. I went to many rallies, and I worked at a lot of rallies, and Trump they were packed every single time. But I'm seeing videos from the rallies that I went to where it's empty. I'm like, I don't know at what time you took these pictures, but it wasn't during the rally, because that place was packed full of people. And so it's just the disingenuous nature of Kamala Harris and her unwillingness to actually go out to all the people in the country to prove to them why she deserves a vote. She banked on the fact that she could just characterize Trump in such a bad way that they would be diverted from giving him any attention and just ultimately just choosing the lesser of two evils, which in her mind was her. But she miscalculated the American people and what they thought and what they desired. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you comment your thoughts below. I really want to know what you guys think. Make sure you're subscribed. And I apologize if my voice was different today. It's a little scratchy, a little sore, but I really hope you enjoyed the video anyway. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.